Glad you could make it today. I am the principal, Mr. Purlee. I think you hired me about a year and a couple months ago now. It's been a great year and a couple of months so far, and I'm sure it's going to continue to get better as we feel like we're starting to kind of catch some traction on a few of the things that we have in place as far as instruction, student leadership, and different things like that. There are last year, first year, kind of a year of getting to know each other and getting to know things, and then kind of gaining some traction this year. Our agenda here is the light breakfast. Please enjoy seconds and thirds if necessary. We're going to do some Bulldog highlights, which the students are going to highlight some of the things that we do here at Needham Elementary School. Then we're going to do a tour, also led by some of the students here at Needham Elementary School, along with me in that. So we'll introduce those students as they arrive this morning. Then we'll have time for some classroom visits, just walking around the school, popping in the classrooms. We have frequent visitors, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Several police officers stop in our school weekly and walk through the classrooms. So, and I'm in the classrooms daily. So that shouldn't be too much of a surprise or too much of a distraction. Feel free to go in. A lot of teachers will actually probably engage you in what they're talking about as they are teaching. Or students will just ask you questions when they don't understand it. How do you do this? And then we'll come back here and wrap up towards the end of that time for classroom visits. If you haven't read yesterday's daily journal yet, I would encourage you to look at it online, or it's here on. I've got a link to it here. I'll go ahead. I'm going to click on that just so you can get a little preview of what that is. It's called Have a Nice Day. It is the name of our club, which was started by a substitute teacher, student or child of a staff member here, Laura Perry. It's her name. Jeannie works in our library. She came to me last year and said, I was subbing in a classroom and there was a kid who was eating croutons that they brought from lunch off the salad bar, so they had a snack. She goes, that doesn't work. We've got to do something. I said, okay, what's your thought? So she kind of tied it back to a program that the high school had done when she was there called the Have a Nice Day Club. And they did things for kids to help them have a nice day. And she said, I think we could sell these t-shirts, use that money to then buy food and little snacks for these classrooms to have. Every classroom has a tote of snacks. If a kid didn't bring their own snack or their own thing, they can go over to the tote and get one every day. That's an option. On Mondays, we have a group of parents that come in and they wear their bright orange smiley face shirts and they welcome kids as they come in. And this here is Tim White. He has a daughter in 4th grade or 2nd grade, and he has come in several times. Laura Perry, I think, has come in every single Monday. I'm probably stealing some of your guys' thunder, aren't I? But this is super cool. I just can't talk enough about it. And the Daily Journal did an excellent job highlighting this program for us. It was well timed and well written. So we're trying to find out what size t-shirt the photographer and the writer of the article wear so we can send them over a Have a Nice Day t-shirt. I've talked enough already. I'm going to turn it over to Clay Holman. You might recognize that last name. And Lexi Ray. And they're going to walk us through a few more of our slides and highlight some of the great things that we're doing here at Needham Elementary School. I'll click through as you guys talk. I'll let you guys start with your introductions of yourselves.
Hi, I'm Clay, and I'm on the announcement team. Welcome to Needham.
Hi, my name is Lexi Ray. Announcements team members, leadership teams are role models. You apply the process. So you get a piece of paper and you have to fill it out. And then about 90 students are on leadership teams.
The announcement team stands up in the gym on Monday to announce weekly events and does morning announcements when recorded.
Tour team gives tours of the school to new students or families thinking of coming to our school. And special guests, we want the kids to be comfortable at our new school.
The student council helps with special events like the canned food drive, coat drive, and collecting bottle caps. The project for this year is to fix up our gazebo on the playground.
The journalism team takes pictures of the students and staff doing special activities. They will be able to be part of this year's yearbook.
On Mondays, we have special events like running club, make a difference Monday meeting, and have a nice day.
At Needham, we have many extra events. Choir and keyboard meet weekly to practice for performances. We have karate, spell bowl, math bowl, science bowl, champions, basketball teams, and we have special guests a lot, like American Legions for Veterans Day.
Lexi, I'm going to interject here. This picture, it just, by chance, it seems larger than all the others. This guy here has a brother. That was last Friday. He was here with us. All right. Thank you very much, Lexi. I appreciate you guys braving the crowd.
I have some pencils. It's Christmas pencils if you guys want some. I'll walk around.
All right. So our student leadership team started last year with 3rd and 4th graders. They're continuing this year with 3rd and 4th graders. Lexi and Play are both 4th grade students. They stand in front of our 420 student population, plus teachers, every Monday and speak, and then they do our video recording announcements as well. We actually have a team of 8 or 9 students who do that announcement crew each Monday morning. And then, so they're responsible for the slideshow. They take care of that. Yesterday I said, here are the slides that we're going to talk about. You make your notes. So they did it. They do a great work with that. You'll notice Isabel Stillabauer. She's back there in the back clicking away. And she is one of the members of our journalism team. And so the majority of the pictures on the slideshow were taken by our journalism team this year. When we do our tour, we'll have Zoe and Ava and hopefully Connor.
Connor's still waiting at his door.
Okay, still waiting. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about a couple of other things the students might not have known so much about that we're doing here at Needham Elementary School. Ross Greene is a psychologist. He's actually from Maine, and he's catching some traction in the world of mental health. He's written a few books now. I think this one was first published in 2008. So in the life of publications, that's really not too long ago. And then to really get deep-rooted into a school system. You know, programs take a while, or philosophies and ideas. Well, we had a very grassroots book study this summer. We had a few folks go to Seymour and listen to Ross Greene speak. And then we bought some copies of this book. And then over the summer, Diana Bennett sent out an email and said, hey, if you're reading this book, I've created this blog. Let's get on to a little book study about it. And then it just gained traction as people are reading the theories and the story of Lost at School. And it takes such a simple approach to behavior that I know I hadn't thought of before I read the book. And I think a lot of people kind of feel the same way. So I'm going to take it back kind of as he does with an analogy of, okay, a kid can't read. We don't suspend, expel, give detention to a kid who can't read. We give them an assessment. We try to figure out, why why can't they read? And typically we take it back to a phonics situation and they can't understand letters and sounds and how they go together. So what do? We teach the letters and sounds and how it goes together. And then we teach them words, then we teach them sentences. And then they're reading. And you can kind of step back and let them read on their own. He says behavior is the same way. These kids never got the skills, the most basic skills that we take for granted, to behave. Either they weren't born with those skills, which some people just innately maybe are born with, or they weren't taught those skills. So schools, we get another piece of curriculum, but we can teach these things. He's identified a list of lagging skills, like doesn't know the letter A, or doesn't know the sound that a C makes, and says, okay, difficulty handling transitions, shifting from one mindset to another. And then we list examples of that, and then how to help a student with transitions. Maybe a visual chart, maybe working through those transitions and like making a fake transition and say, okay, this is what it's going to look like, preparing students for those transitions. So this is a small percentage of students that don't have these, that are at this level. But there are, where we would meet, we would talk about the students that are having difficulty with these skills, figure out what those unsolved problems are. Not behaviors, we're not going to call them behaviors. It's what does the problem look like? And then how do we address that? He says you take one at a time and you address it. Just like you wouldn't teach. You wouldn't say, oh, let's do all 27 or 26 sounds of the alphabet. You say, let's do one. And let's focus on that. When you get that, we'll go to the next one. Sounds pretty simple, right? Yeah. Sounds great. But it's a challenge, but it's a new way of thinking, a new way of approaching challenging behaviors. And he says, don't send them home if you can avoid it. Keep them here and teach them these skills. And we have a great skills specialist in cooperation with Earlywood, and we have our behavior interventionist here at Needham is Marnie Havner, and doing a great job with this, plus all of our teachers. They're the ones with those students each day working on those skills. But it's been pretty neat to see this kind of come to life, come to fruition as we're helping these students. VIP meetings, you may have heard about this in letters that have been sent out, or hopefully parents talking about it. 300 plus is because I did it in a staff meeting, so every staff member who's working with kids has also been part of this VIP training. But I thought if I'm going to require parents to do it before they work with kids, then our staff should know what I'm talking to parents about before they do it. They should know what I'm saying to them and what the expectations would be. It's all pretty, sometimes I refer to it as common sense, but I like to explain it in black and white. So I do things from where to park, so you're not in the bus lane or in the fire lane. I talk about bullying, Indiana code. I have a handout that I also share about bullying and what that looks like and how to report it. I would expect that I would expect it already to have happened. So anytime that there's going to be some legislature that comes through that says, schools, start proving that you're talking to parents about bullying. Because we already have to prove that we do staff development about it. We already have to prove by October 15th every year that we talk to students about it. So I'm expecting that when somebody gets that in their mind, it's going to be a great little piece of legislation that they can tie their name to. It says, hey, schools, prove that you're talking to parents about it. Well, we have 296 as of last night. And I have their signature on a piece of paper that says, Mr. Purlee's talked about bullying with us and trained us on bullying. So I think that's a really key component in that as far as those hot button topics. We talk about field trips and different things. I try to make it somewhat entertaining by telling jokes and stories. that go along with these things, like you'll never believe the time. And parents are like, what? But I also share some facts, like we average 1.5 CPS reports a week at Needham Elementary School. And parents are like, what? In our community? Yes, in our community. And I tell them what to do. If their child comes home and says, today at school my friend Susie told me, and I tell them, here's what you need to do. It's the law in Indiana. And I'm like, we would have never known to have to do that. I had one last week at parent-teacher conferences. They came in, parent-teacher conference is over, and they say, and we need to tell you, teacher. So, as new Indiana law states, when a teacher knows about it, they've got to come and make a report immediately. So teacher had to kind of postpone that next conference. We made a report. But that is part of some of the effects of having these VIP meetings. So we've had 296 parents come through so far. That's a year and 2 months, 3 months now. In my 4 years at Seymour, I did just under 400. That tells me how involved and how important school is to this community. That these parents are taking time, they take a half hour out of their schedules to be here. So that's pretty awesome. I like to share that and brag about the community being so involved in school. Now, we get to hear from Mrs. Moore and Mrs. Stillebauer. They're going to talk a little bit about one of our cool little programs that has to do with reading.
Kind of along the lines of doing things differently, trying to do things a new way or a different way. I want to kind of go back in my teaching journey to before I came to Needham. I was a teacher in the Indianapolis Public Schools for 12 years. And there I taught 1st, 3rd, 4th grade, and I was also a literacy coach. And one of the programs we had, and I know we had it here at Needham as well, was Reading Street, which is a Pearson reading curriculum. And in that, I always felt like there's got to be a better way, or there's got to be a better tool. You teach the big, heavy basal reader that's got a passage a week, and you teach that story, and you give a test on that story, and you build the vocabulary for that story, and you give background knowledge for that story. But at the end of the week, all you know is if they understand that story. There's no extra to it, and getting the students to read outside of that was a struggle. And it didn't really play into student interest. If they happened to be interested in what we were reading that week, they probably weren't the other, however many weeks. So that became a frustration for me. So looking outside of the box, I went to classroom sets of books. We read Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. We read Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. And again, you have some students who are really into it and love the book, some who read way ahead because it's too easy, some who struggle through the first chapter and put it down and never touch it again. And I'm testing them on their understanding of that book. And so that was still a struggle for me. We go to, okay, everybody gets to pick their own book. Let's do a book report. And then I have to read a book, and I have to write about it, and I have to draw pictures, and then I have to stand up in front of the class and present this book that I didn't really like, but I have to do it because my teacher told me to. And I thought, there's still no way to get these kids reading. And I came to Needham, and we have this wonderful program called Reading Counts, where kids can read almost any book in the library, and then so that the teacher can have a better understanding of if the kids read the book or not, if they understand the book or not. They take quizzes on reading counts on a computer program. And that was great, except you still have those kids who just don't have motivation. And what I found is the kids who are going to read are going to read. The kids who aren't. And just trying to find that motivation, that encouragement, that reward to get them to want to do more. And so kind of playing into that, and it turned out to be more of a punishment if you didn't read, as opposed to getting kids to just want to read. And so 2 years ago, at the Scholastic Book Fair, actually, right here in our library, I found this book. It's called The Book Whisperer, and the byline is what actually got my attention. It says, "Awakening the Inner Reader in Every Child." Now, I am a reader. I've always been a reader. I was that nerd in school where you had to give a hobby, and I said, reading, and everybody went, yeah, that's me. I would spend the day in the library if I could. I would read every book if I could. I have a list miles long of books I want to read that I will never have time to read. And honestly, as a teacher, I never made time to read. It would be a fall break. thing to do, it would be a winter break thing to do, it would be a summer vacation thing to do, but during the school year, it was, I don't have time for that. And so this kind of changed my world. And what it starts with, and I'm actually going to pass this to Ms. Stillbauer in a minute, but just trying to get kids involved in reading, and it set a challenge for me as well. And I was preparing that whole summer. I read it on vacation, and I'm not one to read a professional book on vacation, but I actually took it with me, sat by the pool, all that kind of stuff, reading this book. And then we hired Annie Stillbauer at the end of that summer, and she said, well, I would prefer to teach reading if we're going to departmentalize. So I taught math that year, and she taught reading. And I said, okay, but you have to read this book. It's actually well loved, if you can tell, because it went to the beach with Mrs. Stillbauer on fall break, and I got a little wet. But it changed how you did reading too, so I'm gonna let you jump in now.
Okay, so yes, when I started, I was just following the benchmarks and felt the frustrations that Melissa was talking about. Couldn't get the kids to read. When we had reading time in the classroom, they couldn't sit still. They had absolutely no stamina. So I read that book over fall break, came back in and revamped the way that I did everything. Starting with, and these are the things that she suggests that you do. But started with challenging them with a reading book challenge. It's by genre, so you are challenging them to read different types of books. A lot of them were like, oh, this is not going to happen, I'm not going to read that many books. But you set the challenge and set the tone. And then I gave them an interest reading survey so that I could learn about them and what they like and what they would want to read. And then the biggest part is just I had to go out and find those books that would fit that child, which became kind of exciting for me. They liked coming in the morning, and I would have books on their desks, and they could choose from those books. They could choose from any books, but building that relationship with them and all of those things put together, they started reading. And all I did was follow what she said to do, and mainly it was having conversations with the kids, and it just started a domino effect in the classroom. One person would read a book, everybody would talk about it, it would become the buzz. I had waiting lists on my board. Kids would sign up, they would want to read the book that somebody else just read. And the change in my classroom was huge. If you walked into my classroom, they were no longer, it wasn't loud. I couldn't get them to stop reading. They didn't want to stop. It was very quiet. Some were reading. They would go over to the library, picking out what they wanted to read next. We had to keep lists, what I'm reading now, what I'm going to read later. And another thing that I saw was they were no longer abandoning books. And I think a big part of that too is, one, they're choosing what they read, even though there's the genres. They would start with their comfort, but they were also reading books at their level, and then they would slowly move up. And I think the pressure kind of was off of them, and they were okay with reading at their level. One of the biggest successes, there was a girl at the beginning of the year could barely read Frog and Toad. And at the end of the year, she finished the book challenge, and she was reading books at a 600, 700 book level. So that just to me proved that if you start where you're comfortable, then you can move up. And then one of the things that I did because of the excitement, something I would allow them to do was book talks, not book reports. But they would get up in front of the classroom and they would do like a hook, kind of like reading Rainbow, when the kids would talk about the book and try to get the other kids interested. So we would do book talks. So I made it into a tournament, the March Madness tournament, and we did it like the teams. They all picked a book, they had it in the brackets, they had to get up and do the book talk, and then the kids would vote, it get eliminated, and we went all the way down to the final book. But that created a lot of excitement, and while they were saying their book talks, the kids were writing down, oh, I want to read that book, and so it just generates a lot of interest in the classroom.
But I was going to say, before you go on, I probably can't read it from all the way back there. This is just a part of the 40-book challenge, and that's what we challenged the students to do this year, was read 40 books during this duration of the school year. And I challenged myself as well. I'm a little behind because I'm at 10 right now. But as a teacher, to read 10 books already by November is huge. And several of them have been professional books, which take a little longer to get through. So I do allow myself to read books at the kids level because that means I know more of what they're reading and I can make better recommendations as well. But one of the things that really hooked the kids this year is introducing graphic novels as a genre. It is becoming a huge thing. I found 2 over the summer actually at, I can't remember the name of the bookstore, is it the Flying Geese or something, the bookstore? Wild Geese. But it's called Rapunzel's Revenge, and then there's a second one called Calamity Jack, and it kind of is almost like a comic book style book, almost this thick, based on the story of Rapunzel, but out in the Old West, and then Calamity Jack would be Jack and the Beanstalk, but they have adventures together. And the fact that I started the year reading those books, and the kids seeing me reading those books, and it was, those are okay, we can read those. They have been passed around the room, aren't they, Lexi? Everybody wants to read them. There's a waiting list for them, and it's, okay, I'm gonna finish, and then I know it goes to this student, and then she's supposed to give it to her, and then he gets it next, and they know who has it next and who's got it. I still encourage them to do the reading counts quizzes on what they're reading, but if they don't pass it, we have a conversation about it. Because they said that one quiz is not the end-all be-all. We can't judge everything based on one test. I want them to try, because I think it helps them to become better test takers in general, but I want them to talk about books as well. And the fact that they're enjoying them enough to want to pass them around and share with their friends is a huge thing. So the graphic novel piece, though, really tied in my, or pulled in my class this year, which was huge. Next. There we go. And we can see kids reading everywhere. When we go stop at the restroom, they have a book they're reading. When we, some of them even go outside. Mrs. Stillbauer took her class out last year several times to read. And they love it. They beg for silent reading time. Or it's time to put your books away. No, I just want to do one more page. Let me finish the chapter. Let me get to the next piece. Another thing I've incorporated in my classroom, kind of to go along with the book challenge, is I have a closet. My closets are lined with the genres, and I believe the other 4th grade teachers have done this as well. And the kids are making recommendations of books. So if they get finished with one genre and they go, well, I know I need to read a mystery, but I don't know any good mysteries, they can go look and see what their classmates recommend. Without disrupting anybody, they can just go over and look at a few. And the great thing is this also pairs in very well with the Benchmarks reading series we have right now. It has close reading texts, very short passages that we read, but they're focused on specific genres. This week we've been studying realistic fiction. And as the kids are studying these little passages in realistic fiction, they'll say, well, that's just like that book I just read. Did you put it on the closet? No, but can I go do that now? And it's making a lot of connections between what they're reading across the board. As far as how this is working and the successes we're having, had parent-teacher conferences just last week, and it was amazing the feedback I got from parents. I had, I would say, at least 6 parents come and say, my child has never been a reader before, and they are now. And I can't get them to put a book down. And just, they always have a book and they want to talk to me about it. And that to me, that tells me more about their success than any test score. Another one we had, Mrs. Stillbauer ran into a pair of twins at the pool over the summer, and they were girls who were almost non-readers at the start of 4th grade. And over the summer, they wanted to come and tell her, we've been to the library and this is what I'm reading right now. And the other one said the same thing. So on their summer vacation, they were continuing this trend, which is what we want. Reading instruction is great in the classroom, but if it never leaves the classroom, we've gotten nowhere. So this has been a tool that has really just kind of broadened how we do reading. And it's helping, it's working in all of the 4th grade classrooms this year. So it's been an amazing adventure.
Any questions about Book Whisperer or what they're doing there? Denise, are you kind of giddy at the fact that they didn't even mention this, but they were taking 6 traits of writing and incorporating into their reading? How's that work?
They could see my excitement.
Okay.
I'm just
Over the
moon.
or things like that.
Having them read outside the classroom, that's gold.
You guys are, there's 4th graders over there, is that right? Those are 4th grade?
Most of them.
Yeah. Best book you've read, start right here with you.
I'll get me
All right?
cardboard.
Cardboard.
I'll get me the same as Lexi.
Max Crumbly.
Connor, what'd you say?
Cardboard.
Cardboard. Several of those are graphic novels, so the kids are really digging those, and it gets them hooked, so they want more stories.
Now we know what to get the school board for Christmas, don't we? So, like, yeah.
Zoe turned around and said, that's exactly how it happened. Mrs. Moore wasn't just making that up.
No,
But then, you were saying, how many books have you read?
20.
20?
She's
24.
Good golly.
I don't
Lexi,
know.
you've read like 10 so far.
I've read 15.
15.
I have and passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in about week 12 or 13 of school.
wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait, how many weeks?
Week 12 or 13 of school. And that's what they're reading. So that's it. And they had talked about it last year, and you know it doesn't click sometimes until your wife tells you. And we were driving to Florida on fall break. My wife keeps talking about this book. I'm like, it's like she's telling me all of the. She's an instructional coach, and she's like, "There's so many good components. I wish I could get teachers to be doing this." And I'm thinking, that sounds so familiar. You know, getting away from a passage to a real book. So I texted Annie. I said, "Okay, what's the book?" She's like, "I'm like, that's it." Like, it was, but that again, that kind of an authentic approach to it, and giving the teachers that freedom and flexibility to have some autonomy in what they're doing, and they've connected it right back with that benchmarks, and that's what I'm glad you said that, because if you didn't, I was going to say it again, because I did observations, and I'm like, that's exactly what you were doing. And then the kids were tying it right back together, like I could see it in action. So thank you very much for that. I think I've got one more slide here to kind of wrap this up before we do our tour. One of the key components in what we're doing here at Needham Elementary School is in our PLCs. So we came up with a creative schedule. And some flexibility in that. So our PLCs, each grade level meets one day each week. So 4th grade meets Monday. Their kids go to a related art for extra related art. So they cover, they teach about 30 minutes bonus related art that day. And our teachers then go to a meeting or have a team meeting to talk about their instruction, their assessments, and what they're doing in the classroom. It's been a challenge with that flexibility each day to make that work. You know, as soon as somebody's out, or you know, art teachers 5/7, that makes it kind of tough to do. But we're making it work, and that time has been very valuable for us. I know there's some other schools, they do like 5 minutes off a day, and then the whole school has their PLC on one day. But we have made this work. It's been really positive. I have also a PLC leadership team. So in each grade level we have a leader, plus we have like Mrs. Mays involved in that, and some other folks throughout the school from each area that are our PLC leaders. And what a great group of teacher leaders that we have. And they're not all part of the presentation up here. Melissa happens to be one of our PLC leaders. But we've got, each teacher has the kind of a unique niche in how they are a leader. And several of these, down in the bottom right corner is a picture of part of our PLC leadership team. That was from our school board, or not school board, our admin retreat over the summer. I would like to point out that we were out in 11 minutes and 42 seconds. Matt or Deb, or how long did it take the admin team? Or we had that much time left?
We had about 15 minutes left. No,
I remember.
we had like 5, didn't we?
Really?
Ours was more difficult.
Because of your team members.
Oh!
Wow. Okay, yeah, thank you very much.
I honestly think it was the same, and you guys did well.
Yeah.
It was pretty neat. So,
They did beat
like
us.
They beat us. They beat us.
Yeah.
Let's own it.
They did.
Ashley Culture brought this back. Ashley's here on the end. She's a first grade teacher. She brought this back to school, and as part of a leadership class that she was taking, and said, I want to do this as our opening day event this year. So she made up this whole like escape room project from the Escape the Library, had all these clues. So the teams then came in, so that was our kickoff for the year this year, was the escape. So, if you noticed, hopefully, up in the top right corner, I had the guiding principles of what those things were tying to. And I feel like our PLCs and our leaderships hit every single one of those. So I made the bubble a little bit bigger this time. We are focusing on individual student growth because we're talking about each kid each week in those meetings. It's trust, and that's kind of the whole idea behind this escape room thing. You put a kindergarten teacher, first grade, second grade, a counselor, and a principal together and say, get out of the room, and you could really see how we could communicate, the leaders, the different types of communication styles and leadership styles within that group. And then you could really see it, because we watched these folks on video as they were doing their escape rooms. You could see the different personalities come out. Collaboration, it kind of goes with trust. Once you have trust, then you can collaborate. If you don't have trust, you're just a bunch of people working together. True collaboration comes when you have trust with each other. We did some shake-up over this, towards last year to this year, of different teams, and it has been an amazing kind of revitalization of some of our grade levels, with that trust being one of the key components on new teams. Communication, obviously these folks have to talk to each other, work with each other, and with administration as well. Like if there's a student who needs some special services, we've got to work with that. And then systematic improvement. We are continuously trying to get better at what we're doing with those components. Mainly focused on NWEA right now. I believe Ashley and Alyssa, myself, and Melissa Moore tomorrow are all going to an NWEA workshop. So again, learn just a little bit more about setting student goals to make sure that they're in line with what we need for our students. So that is a highlight of Needham Elementary School, kind of in a nutshell, or in a slideshow. We'll start in the front entryway, and we'll start. Zoe, can you give us a little wave? Kind of been introduced already. Ava, a little wave. Connor, a little wave. All right. They are going to be our tour guides. They have an agenda that they're going to follow and talk about. I'll be there as well to kind of support that. But we'll meet out here in the entryway, and we'll start our tour.
My name is Zoe. My name is Connor. My name is Ava. And we're all in 4th grade.
Just go. Go with it. Yeah, you could do that. That would be good. I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe have them introduce themselves.
Yeah. So we'll start over here and then just tell us your names as we go. So we'll start with you.
Christy, I'm a school board member.
Nice to meet you.
David Clendenning, Superintendent.
Nice to meet you.
Jeff Sewell, Director of Operations.
Nice to meet you.
Andy Lamb, School Board Member.
I'm Robin Betts. I do public relations for the district.
I'm Darren Thompson, School Board Member for Needham Township.
Jeff Mercer, I'm the Director of Finance. I take care of the money.
Deb Nally, I'm the Director of Curriculum, so I help your teachers pick out all the books.
Okay, so outside the library there are over 420 students, and our librarian in that room is Mrs. Perry, and for related arts we either have PE, library, art, or music, and we have one of those a day. Every grade level does, but every grade level has different ones every day.
There are 3 teachers in kindergarten and 3 teachers in 1st grade. Kindergarten registration is usually in the spring of each year. Clip up and clip down charts for kindergarten to 2nd grade.
Can you tell us what a clip up, clip down chart is?
If you clip up, it means you're being good, and if you clip down, it means like you need to fix your behavior.
Okay. Can you tell us who the teachers are in these grade levels?
Miss Barr, Miss Bullington, and Miss Viviano are kindergarten. Miss Snyder, Miss Pulcher, and Miss Stillabauer are first grade.
Kindergarten first. So our second grade classes are big bubble right now. And that's where we have, I'm going to steal your thunder again, that's where we have 4 teachers. However, our first grade move-in population this year has caused that group to grow. So we've had more kids in first grade than we had when they were in kindergarten. And we don't know if that's just move-ins because of like heritage growing or different areas, or like where they went to preschool and then, or kindergarten, preschool, and then they moved here when they came to first grade. So, but we're like as many kids in first grade as we would have in second grade right now. All right, where are we headed to next?
We're going to the second grade.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about your story as we're walking down to the second grade hallway?
I've been here since August.
Like that.
I've been here since August, and Zoe actually showed me around this summer before the school year started. And I was really happy when I came here, and I was like, yes, I need to go here.
Where'd you go to school before here?
I went to Greene Christian School.
Why'd you do that?
Fun fact about Ava is she is probably the best golfer in this entire group by several shots.
Probably. She made it to Worlds.
I ranked 33rd out of 90 girls.
Wow. So,
You give lessons.
you give lessons.
No, but I probably will.
And Ava, what is your full name? First and last
Ava
name?
Joy Bunker.
Bunker.
So you stay out of the
Is that
bunker when
not-
you're playing though, right?
All right, so we'll head on down to the second grade hall.
Mom and Dad.
So that's been kind of a key for our student tours. So when a new parent comes in, like Mrs. Bunker and Ava, I talk to them for a few minutes in the office, and then I said, go. So, and I said, when they come back, did you have any questions? Typically, they don't have any. They just said, we love it. The student interaction was fun.
There are 4 teachers in second grade. Miss Henderson is Title I. There is art. The art class is right over there. And then the music is down. And then the music class is all the way down there. And then you do a ton of art projects in the class. And then you have choir and keyboard class, which takes place in the art room before and after, well, before school usually.
Miss Wilson, Miss Jepson,
No, Miss Jep. Wait, yeah. Miss Jep.
Miss Bontrager, and Miss Cooper.
Yeah. So this is one of the grade levels that we switched up quite a bit from last year. With Mrs. Mrs. Wilson being the only returning member of this grade level. So we switched it up quite a bit with having to do that because of that class size. This again is our bubble group, and it's worked out really, really well with the types of personalities and leaders that we have in this grade level. It's been really a positive move. And Annie, who spoke earlier, this is her second year, and then at Franklin, and then Alyssa Bontrager as well is one of our new hires from last year. And where are we headed next?
We're going. Miss Stubb wanted us to bring them into our group.
Oh, she wants to see us. Huh?
Yep.
Hello. How are ya? We came on a good day. We're tasting cookies with primary colors, and then we're gonna mix them to make secondary colors. So the first and kindergarten's doing that.
We have a related art, and it's art. We come in here and we do art projects depending on the time of year or just random stuff. Yeah, for Veterans Day.
And Okay. So you have, what are your related arts? Can you go ahead and tell us those?
We have music, PE, art, and library. And we each have one of those a day.
And then there's PLC Monday.
Yeah, PLC Mondays for 4th grade. And then
And our related arts are 40 minutes, is that right? And so we've actually switched that up a little bit, you know, having that 4th grade, or the 2nd grade classroom with 4 teachers, so we've had some flexibility in there. And library is a related art for some groups, and it's a different time for other groups, where they may have their related art rotation only being 3 related arts, and then a bonus library on another day. It's just kind of making that schedule work. Couple of key things in scheduling, like we have to have a 90-minute reading block. That's required. We have to have at least 60 minutes in math. That's required. Then we want to do Title I, which is typically a pull-out program for struggling readers. So to make all of those things kind of fit together, Mrs. Stubman's had a creative schedule this year, coming in a little bit later to get us through the end of the day, and then helping make that PLC thing work and stuff like that. So it's been really helpful that she's been here and been flexible as our art teacher. You were at, well, you've been all over the place.
Kind of, yeah.
But you
I
were
was at Union the
right?
longest, yeah.
Yeah. And it worked out.
we have 3 teachers in 3rd grade and 4 teachers in 4th grade. Leadership groups are mostly 3rd and 4th grade, like the tour team and the announcers team. Behavior logs for 3rd grade, which you sign your behavior log if you're doing wrong behavior, and then clipboard marks for 4th grade, which is like the same thing as behavior logs. And then we have computer lab 1, which is right over there.
When do you go to the computer lab?
Sometimes for PLC, and then my class, Miss Moore's class, goes to the computer lab for Splendid.
I see Chromebooks in the hallway. Can you tell us a little bit about Chromebooks?
We use these for reading accounts. We use the Compass Learning for the laptops for like Compass Learning and reading counts and Connect Ed.
And sometimes we get on Google and we are like for social studies we get on Google Slides and we write an essay about this book, about what we read in those chapters. And then we would send it to her, and then she would grade it off of the computer.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's take maybe 5 to 10 minutes if you want to visit some of the classrooms down here. These are all 3rd and 4th grade classrooms. Mrs. Bennis has kind of a hybrid class. High ability.
Let's visit Mrs. Bennis because
Say it out loud.
139 major 9.
Show your work. All right. Did you get that answer, Ms. Jones? Did you get your mistake fixed? What is the importance of making a mistake in math? What does that show us?
Fail first attempt.
Fail is our first attempt in learning. What else does it teach us?
You're learning.
You're learning something. Okay, does your brain grow if you get it right every time?
No.
No. When does your brain grow, Andrew? Your brain grows when you make a mistake, because there's a struggle. Okay, so, since I made a mistake, and you know how long I've been doing this, did my brain grow? Yeah. And I found it? Okay. Now, the other important thing about making a mistake is finding your mistake. Did you find yours? Not yet. You hear that? Not yet? Okay. Ripken, get up there and find your mistake. And think out loud so we can all hear your smart thinking. Samantha, go ahead and start number 5. Okay, that's correct.
instead of just doing 2,000 like I did on my eighth grade, I thought it would be closer to 3,000. And on 21, if I did 20, I didn't think that would go to 30.
Yeah, because your estimate, you want to be able to do it in your head. Okay, let's all freeze up just for a second. I'm gonna try everywhere a second.
Financially going home.
I would like to kind of explain and let you ask questions about why there's this huge amount of students in my classroom, besides I'm just really lucky. We are doing, I have the 3-4 combined high ability language arts, and I also have second grade high ability language arts that comes up about midday for 30 minutes. So at this point in the day, everyone's in math block, and so we push up into the next grade with the high ability math students. So they are the high ability math students of 4th grade, so they push up to do 5th grade math. 5th grade math. So there are only 9 of them doing 5th grade math at this time. We have a couple that are kind of sitting on the fence, depending on NWA results in December. So right now, I have my 4th graders that are doing Gen Ed, 4th grade math, are in one of the other 4th grade classrooms. My 3rd graders that do high ability math, whose room are you in right now, Miss Izzy? So they go to other 4th grade classrooms to do, as 3rd graders, doing 4th grade math. And then my 3rd graders that are doing Gen Ed, 3rd grade math, go to one of the 3rd grade classrooms. And they are all clustered together in Mrs. Griswold's room. The cluster part is really important for our district's model of high ability. They go in a cluster group, meaning that they don't go alone to another classroom. So the ones that are in 3rd grade were there with a cluster group. Izzy, can you tell them who in 3rd grade is with you in Mrs. Whitworth's room?
Me, Cassidy, Hadley, and Olivia.
Okay, so 4, and about 4 of them are also with Mrs. Moore. And then Miss Burns has the Gen Ed students for 4th grade math, so that they stay together too, so they go in a group. And the same with the ones going to 3rd grade, they go in a cluster group, which is part of our district model. And the kids know, our day is interesting, and we move some, but it's been working out really well. Do you guys have anything you want to add to that? Connor, why don't you say something? What do you read? Okay, tell them what you did. You moved from...
I started out in 3rd grade math, and then I got into high ability, and I skipped 4th grade math and went into 5th grade math.
Tell them how you're doing right now.
I'm doing really good right now. Even Miss Dennis thinks so.
I do. And tell them what you have going on that makes you do really well. What is it that goes on in your brain that makes you do really well? What's that G word? The GR word. GRI word.
Grit.
Grit. You have grit. Tell them what grit is.
Grit is where you keep on moving along no matter what happens. You always have power to move, to push yourself on.
He's very gritty. He is very gritty. He never gives up. In fact, not only does he not give up, but he's a really good teacher as well. All right. Anybody else have any?
So you do this for math. And so kids could be housed in any of the homerooms in 3rd and 4th grade, so that helps to have them all in the same hallway. And then for math, they could end up moving possibly to a variety of different grade levels, because we have some 3rd graders moving up to 4th grade also. So they're coming maybe from Miss King's 3rd grade class. They're also going to Mrs. Whitworth's class. So it's quite a scheduling cleverness to make that work.
Cleverness is a good word.
We did, we talk multiple times, and then we continue to fix it. Like, oh, yeah, we got to have Connor in there too throughout the year. After parent-teacher conferences, we have 2 more parents and 2 more students. We're thinking, okay, probably January this can even look a little bit different.
Very flexible. And so what we have here is a model that several of the schools are doing, but I think ours is working out really well, because after they come back from specials, 3rd graders do go to specials with 4th grade, but 3rd grade has lunch and recess with 3rd grade, their peers, so they spend time with their peers. others. I feel like it's really important. They go on field trips, they do parties and things with their peer group. But then when we have, after the specials and we have Math Fit, again, there's a scramble of all these, because we had kind of ability group them on the Math Fit to work on math skills, and that's a remediation time. And then we have language arts, and then that is a standing room only.
Yeah. Kind of how Mrs. Moore's room is for math right now. She has probably 32 students over there. But she's teaching 4th grade to all of those students. So that's what makes that work. And then language arts, like as you said, similar flexibility, but just kind of reversed for
But in here, though, even though they're all high ability 3rd and 4th grade, we have some common curriculum, but we have some that I have to have groups work, like 4th grade does Caesar's English, and 3rd is working on Greek and Latin roots. And then we have different language things, but when we all come together over a novel, we do the 4th grade curriculum one year for the anchor books and the novel studies and the curriculum. And the next year, we'll do the 3rd grade. So even though it's 2 different grade levels, the caliber and the level of the novels and the skills they have to do are equal. So they will, the 4th graders will go on to CBIS, but the 3rd graders will do the 3rd grade curriculum next year with the 2nd graders that move up. And they're doing some amazing things.
And the same thing on the other end, so I could make them. I know that it's a little easier than tracing a cube that way. Some of you are already ready to find the area that way. How many cubes did you trace? How many did you draw? Is it probably going to be the same at the top? Chloe, what is it? Because if I count out, it's still a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So anytime we're talking area, think about your unit. Remember, if it's the surface, it's always going to be a square something, right? And this time it just happens to be square centimeters. On our next page, it's not. Yesterday on the rug we did square feet.
Yep.
Today we did square centimeters. So what do you think's coming next, Emma? We're going to do some square inches, you're right.
Just enough. We can play a hockey game.
Outstanding.
Mrs. Spalding, you want to tell us a little bit about PE or the extra things you do?
Sure. Very lucky to teach at Needham Elementary. My PE program is about loving to move, because I want them to love to move, because when we get our age, I want them to continue moving. So I really try to make it fun and entertaining, and I want them to come in with a smile and leave with a smile.
What are some of the things that you do in Franklin and Needham that kind of add to the culture beyond teaching PE each day?
So I have an event, my Franklin Mini.
How about all of the events?
My major event is the Franklin Mini, is where I invite all the elementary schools to come to Needham and to do a race. It is a competitive race, but it's also a fun run. So it's just for you to get out there and play 60. And this year, usually we have the football team, the high school football team comes down and they volunteer. This year we have the dance team. And they jump out and they volunteer and they encourage those runners to come down and run as hard and fast as they can. And then at the end, we have a family run where the kids get their families to get out there and run. And they just play 60 and they have fun, and it's just a great community event.
And who's that young man sitting on the steps back there behind me?
This is Mr. Sprinkle. He is studying to be a PE teacher from Franklin College.
You may have noticed in the building today there were 3 unidentified guests. One's Mr. Sprinkle from Franklin College. What year are you in?
Junior.
He's a junior. All right. And Wednesday experiences this year? Or this semester? Okay. And then we also have in Mrs. Moore's classroom Zach Daly, who's actually going to do student teaching with us next semester, and Brett Reynolds in Mrs. Viviana's kindergarten class, and she'll do student teaching next semester. So who knows, he may do student teaching next year. It's been good to have that relationship with Franklin College and to have these kids come over and learn the craft.
I think, you're doing the 513 cycling?
I am.
You want to talk to us a little about that?
Well, I am learning about it.
Okay.
The 513 is a program I'm going to have in April. I haven't told Mr. Purlee about it yet. But they bring in stationary bikes, and an instructor will stay, and they will have a pedometer, I believe, and they will ride these stationary bikes to earn steps, to have fun, to exercise, and I'm still learning about it, but I am signed up for it. We're sharing ideas amongst the elementary PE teachers, and that was one they brought to me, and I'm exploring it right now. So I'm going to learn more about it because it's in April. I just haven't really researched it yet.
Creekside starting in January. They're the first group they're going to do a whole week of cycling. And Mrs. Sherry brought that in, and actually she stole it from her husband, who is at Clark Elementary, and they had it first, so it's kind of trickling down. But they have PLC time, unlike what they're able to do here. They have to carve theirs out at the end of the day, which is one of the big concerns that we have, is that nobody can really get together at a consistent time. And so we're actually going to talk about that coming up in our meetings this afternoon. We're talking about collaboration time, but with their collaboration time, they're having common experiences. It may not be the exact same thing. When a kid goes from Creekside to Northwood to Needham here, they'll at least have similar opportunities, so when they get to CBIS, they're all kind of fits together. So we're talking about that as well. All right. Anything else in physical education, Zoe? Are we good?
Well, we have the running club at 6:50 every Monday.
All right.
We do. And then we also have skate time where almost every year, classes, they get to come in here. Miss Spalding has skates, and we get to skate, roller skate around the gym.
We learn how to safely fall and how not to use our hands when we skate, so we can go to that skate club and be safe.
And as Connor said, almost every year, but this year we have commotion.
We try to rotate actually. It's skating one year, and then the next year, this year we're going to have commotion, where we have a big screen TV and there's big dance pads, so we have to stay on the rhythm and touch the arrows, so it helps us stay on beat. And we also get a pedometer, and the kids have little competitions on how many steps they can earn, and we have a school-wide competition, and they leave sweaty.
And then we have Monday morning meetings where every Monday, every kid in the whole school, we come in here and the announcement team, they tell us the events of the week. And then we have field day and the spring carnival. Field day is at the end of the school year, and then the spring carnival is just a fun event during the school year.
Helps us raise some money for our school.
Choice 2 and choice 3. And choice 3 is the salad bar. There's apples and just salad on it. And then we have reward tables where we earn these purple tickets for being good, and then we can pay those purple tickets to sit at the reward round tables on this side of the cafeteria. And then usually after or before lunch, we have recess time, and every grade level during the day has a 30-minute recess.